Yeah, this is from the midst of the dust storms of the Middle East.
That's Peter
Who's
James
going to play
Brown.
Mashiach?
Okay.
That's like James Brown.
So I want to
James Bond.
I want to address like another, like last time we talked about this halacha that was like, an interesting halacha with respect to Teshuva. This halacha that you always have to go ahead and do Teshuva again and again, and based on that halacha we got to like a real insight into what Teshuva is all about and what we're doing when we're doing Teshuva and what our perspective is on our relationship with Hashem, etc. So I want to address another one of these halachos in Hilchos Teshuva that to me is also one of the most difficult halachos, and really I always had a hard time understanding and a hard time to understand like why this would be the case. And it's not just me; it's a halacha about which there are very famous questions that have been asked. I want to read the halacha with you. I don't know if I sent out last night on the WhatsApp group. I sent out like a link. So if you have that, it has the link straight to the text of the Rambam. So if you want to see it inside, it'll help. Just because we're going to be looking a little bit at the context of the halacha in a few minutes. But we're looking in the Rambam in Hilchos Teshuva in Perek Gimel Halacha Gimel. So if you click on that link and you go down, like if you scroll down on the page a little bit, so then you'll see like it's Perek Gimel and you'll get to Halacha Gimel. Okay, so I'm going to read the halacha, and it's like something that people are familiar with this concept. The concept he's addressing, no, it didn't work.
Which was that?
Yeah, scroll down. Yeah, go on Tfus, click on Tfus, and then go down to Halacha Gimel. Okay. Click first on Tfus, and then go down to Halacha Gimel. So it's the halacha that we're addressing is this halacha of a person who regrets the mitzvot that they did.
Yeah.
Right? In other words, tshuva is regretting the averot that I did and being cleansed in that process. And like we said last week, that the Mesil Sesharim explains, Ramchal explains, that this is a tremendous chesed from Hashem, this rachamim, the fact that He allows the akiras haratzon to equal the akiras hamaisa, the fact that I wish I didn't do it, that Hashem makes that be that I didn't do it. But yet we're going to see now in this Rambam that applies to mitzvot as well. And let's see the lashon of the Rambam. Halacha Gimel. Kol mi shenikchem al hamitzvos she'asa. Any person that regrets the mitzvos that he did. V'toa ala zchuyos. Now this is also an interesting thing. It seems like he doesn't even want the reward for it. V'toa ala zchuyos. He even though he knows, let's say a person picks up a guy who needs a ride. He helps somebody by the side of the road, and as a result of that, he's late for work. And he is not such a big Baal Bitachon, and he believes that it's because he stopped on the side of the road that he's late for work, and as a result of that, he's so upset that he did it, and he loses his job, and he loses his parnasa, and he loses everything, and he says, I wish I never did it, I wish I didn't do it, I wish I didn't pick up that person, and I don't even care that I get schar for that mitzvah, I wish I never would have done it, right? That's what he says, yeah? V'amar belibo, and he says in his heart, Umahu alti b'asiyasan, what good was it that I did these mitzvos? Halavai lo asisi osan. I wish I didn't do them. Right? These are all exactly the language of a person who's doing tshuva about their averos. Right? They say, I wish I didn't do them. Halavai, I didn't do them. What did it help me? All those averos that I did, and anything I gained out of them, I wish I didn't get that out of it. I would have preferred never to have done the avero. Right? So this is a person saying all of this about this mitzvah. Hareza ibed eskulan. A person loses them all. Ve'in mazkirin lo shum zchus ba'olam. And he loses all merit in the world completely. Shenemar, and he quotes from a pasuk now in the Yechezkel, Shenemar v'tzidkus hatzadik lo tatzilenu b'yom risho, that the tzidkus of the tzaddik, the fact that the tzaddik was a tzaddik for a lengthy period of time, is not going to save him b'yom risho, on the day that he becomes wicked. Yeah. So what does that mean? Does that mean that any person who goes off the derech loses all of their mitzvos? No. That's only if a person regrets the mitzvahs they did. Right? Let's say if a person who grew up religious and they did all sorts of mitzvahs, they learned Torah and they did all sorts of things, like all the kids do, and etc., etc. And then they hit 19, 20 years old, they go off the derech, and they become not from, yeah, they don't regret their previous lifestyle. So after 120 years, whatever judgment Hashem is going to have on them for whatever they did from age 19, 20 onwards, He's going to do. Yeah, but every mitzvah that they did before they went off the derech, they're going to get full schar for, full complete shamim, unless they regret it. The only way you can lose the schar, and that's what the Rambam is saying now, is if you actually regret the mitzvahs that you did. You regret having it. Oh, I wish I hadn't done it. I wish I hadn't been involved in this. When however, I wouldn't have done it. Okay, so this is what the Rambam says.
This is all your mitzvahs you've done, or just that mitzvah?
It's not clear from the Rambam. He seems to be talking about a person who regrets all of them. We'll see. We're going to get back to that point a little bit later. But many Svarim point to this Rambam, and they say from here that you see that if a person regrets doing a mitzvah, yeah, if they, belibo, right? Va'amar belibo. He says in his heart, yeah, so he loses that mitzvah. He loses the schar. Now, Rabbi Chanan Wasserman, Hashem Yinokim Damo, he was one of the star Talmidim, the star pupils of the Chavetz Chaim, whose yard said it was this week, and he was killed in the Holocaust. Rabbi Chanan Wasserman. So he famously asked this question that I mentioned earlier. He asked this to the Chavetz Chaim, and he said, "I don't understand. The Ramchal writes in the Mesillas Yesharim, and it says everywhere that Teshuva is from Rachamim, right? It's an only function of Rachamim. So then, how can regretting a mitzvah undo the mitzvah? Right? It would seem to be like if it's a mechanism that works, so then it works for mitzvahs, so it works for averos, right? So what are you telling me? No, it's this great, amazing gift of tshuva. What do you mean? The same mechanism undoes mitzvahs just the same, right? This was his question, Chanan Wasserman's question to the Chavetz Chaim, and the Chavetz Chaim gave him a particular answer, which apparently Chanan didn't like. The Chavetz Chaim said that. I'll just mention it just because it's an interesting idea. But he said that when the Ramchal wrote this thing, he was only writing that tshuva me'ava turns your averos into mitzvos. That's a rachamim from Hashem. But the fact that tshuva me'yira works, that's din. That's not rachamim. And this, regretting a mitzvah, is like on the same plane as tshuva me'ira. It's like, regretting it because of the circumstances, right? So tshuva, okay, I don't want to get into the Chavetz Chaim's answer. The Chanan also didn't like the answer. It doesn't really sound like that's what the Mesillas Yesharim is saying. Certainly, it doesn't sound like he's differentiating between tshuva and ava and tshuva and ir. Anyway, Chanan Wasserman also he also has his own answer, which also is just an interesting point. But I don't want to. It's not the point of what I want to get to. But Chanan Wasserman's answer to this question is he says as follows. He says that there's two things that go on when a person does an avera. There's two things that happen. There's one thing. Let's give you the basic example, right? You've got children, right? So let's say you tell your kid not to do something dangerous, right? Not to eat too much candy, and then they go behind your back, and they sneak behind you, and they sneak into the candy jar, and they gobble candy until they're sick and they're throwing up and all these things. So there's two things that are going to happen. One, the kid is going to be sick and they're going to throw up from the candy. But two, you're going to get them in trouble because they went behind their back and they went and did something that you told them not to do. So I don't care that you got sick, you got yourself sick, but now you're going to face my circumstance, my consequences, not circumstance, my consequences. Like anything, right? There's tons of things that in the criminal legal system are illegal and also harmful, right, for yourself. A person is speeding, a person driving without a seatbelt, a person doing all sorts of drugs, all sorts of things that
depends if you're from California or Washington.
That depends what state you're in. Okay, very good. Yes, God bless America. So, but the idea is that there's many laws that even if a person does something and it hurts themselves, they also get in trouble with the law, right? Mm-hmm. So it's the same thing with Hashem. Right? Every avera that I do, there's two things that are going on. Number one is I'm rebelling against God. I'm slapping Hashem in the face. I'm the kid running behind your back, stealing candy when you told him explicitly not to. And number two is I'm poisoning my neshama and I'm poisoning my system. So Chanan Wasserman said the fact that Hashem will forgive me, that's not rachman, that's din. That's like even people do that. People forgive other people. But the fact that it'll cleanse my neshama, that's rachamim. That's what he said. So okay, but that's what Chanan Wasserman's answer. Just along those lines. But honestly, in preparing yesterday for the shiur that was supposed to be last night, which is why I'm excited to be able to say it tonight, so I was like looking through this halacha and I was trying to think of aspects of this idea, of this topic, because it's a very interesting idea. The fact that you regret things that you did, even good things, which we all have those thoughts. So who doesn't have those thoughts of regret that I did something and then it leads to something and then, oh gosh, if only I wouldn't have done, and then like, oh no, maybe I just lost my mitzvah. So this, it's a type of thing that. And is that really fair? That just because I regret my mitzvahs, then I lose all? A person really struggled and they suffered in the performance of a mitzvah and all these types of things. Let's take an extreme case. A person, in the Holocaust who was tremendously moser nefesh and all these types of things, and and then something happens, and who knows what they go through, and they say, oh, I wish I would have just died at the beginning and never done all those mitzvahs, and then like they lose it all. And I don't know. There's just something about it that always bothered me a little bit, always troubled me. I was looking through this yesterday a little bit, and I noticed something I never noticed before about this halacha. And then I looked around in a bunch of different svarim, and nobody brought out this point. And then I spoke just tonight after between Mincha Ma'ariv. I said, you weren't there tonight. I spoke with Rav Samsonovich, and I asked him this, and he also he said that he never saw a sefer that pointed this out before. So just open up again if you have the lashon of the Rambam there with you. Let's take a look. We're going to learn Perek Gimel inside now. From the beginning of the parak, and first of all, there's just fundamentals of tshuva. There's like the basic ideas of tshuva, which is like kedai to learn going into Rosh Hashanah, Seres Mei Tshuva. But just look at how he explains what we're talking about. So we're Perek Gimel Halacha Aleph, just like from the very very beginning. It's in Mada, in Sefer Mada. Right there. Okay. Okay. So kol echad ve'echad mebnei adam yesh lo zechuyos v'avonos. All people have merits and sins. Mish is chuyosav yiseros avonos of tzaddik. Mish avonosav yiseros al chuyosav of rasha. A person with more mitzvos is a tzaddik. A person with more averos is a rasha. Mechzel mechzel beinani.
That's pretty good.
Well, okay, it's all very cut and dry.
It's a scale.
Yeah. Okay, it's all. Yeah, 1 second. V'chein medina, and so to land. If it's the people in the land do more good things than bad things, then it's good. If not, the whole world, like the times of Noach, you can have a concept that the whole world is judged to be wicked. Yeah. Adam shavonosav merubam al zechoyosav miyad hu meis berisho shnemer al rov avonecha v'chein medina shavonosav merubim miyad hi ovedes shnemer zakas kiraba v'chein kol olam kulo ki hayu avonosem merubim v'zechoyosem miyad hein nishchasin shnemer vayar kiraba oros adam. Okay, So he says. Now, if it would be that a person would be determined to be, a rasha, so then they would be mace, they would be dead. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean dead as in dead and leaving this world the way, but it could be cut off in this world already. Yeah, and so to the nations, etc., etc. This is what he says. Okay, now this is the point I wanted to get to. Okay, so he's talking like everyone said, very cut and dry. He said the scales, sounds like an accountant. But look what he says now. V'shikol zeh einu lefi minyan az chuyos vavonos ela lefi godlam. Now this is point number one, caveat number one. So this is not a numbers game at all. Mm-hmm. This is a quality. It's not quantity, it's quality, right? That's what he says. Eino lefi minyan az chuyos vavonos. It's not according to the number of mitzvahs and averos. So a person may have said more averos of lashon hara, etc., than what looks like their mitzvos. Yeah, but it could be that those mitzvos outweighed those averos in a very big way. Yeah. You could have one zchus that could be against many averos in terms of making this weight, making this shikul. You could have one avera that's such a terrible avera, which again maybe doesn't look so terrible to the world outside, but on the inside, Hashem knows what this person just compromised when they did this, and what they just gave up when they did this small act, and that one avera could be worth a whole lot of good that they did. Yeah, that one sin can wipe out lots of good. Mm-hmm. Now, before I go on, I just want to make the following point, a very, very important point, because people misunderstand this about what the Rambam is talking about here. Again, a person, up until this point, for sure, again, until we get to Halacha Gimel, where a person is regretting their mitzvahs, no mitzvah goes unpaid. Period. There's no such thing as a mitzvah canceling out averos, and, if I have, 52 mitzvos and 48 averos, so I clear, and I've got 4 mitzvos left. So when I get to Shmayim, I'll have 4 mitzvos to be satisfied with their schar. It doesn't work that way at all. The Torah Devorah writes this. This is one of the midos of Chesed of Hashem, that it's impossible.
It's not based on a balance
It's
system.
it's not just on a balance system. It's mitzvos are never extinguished. Period. Again, with the exception of this thing that we're going to talk about tonight of regretting it. But in any other circumstance, a person can be chas v'shalom, a mass murderer, who knows what. Any mitzvah that person did, they are getting reward for. Hitler, Yamach Shemo v'zichro. Any good thing he ever did, he got. Maybe that was why he got all of his reward in this world, and he was powerful, etc., etc. But there is no such thing. Chazal write, "Ein HaKadosh Baruch Hu mekapech schar kol birya." There's no such thing as a mitzvah that goes unrewarded. So what the Rambam is talking about here is not as far as, and the same thing with the averos, but that means also that a person has to get punished for those averos. The mitzvahs that they do don't cover over those averos that they did. Right? A person can do tons and tons of mitzvahs and do just, okay, but I'm just going to do a little avera here and there. They're going to still have to deal with those averos. They have to do tshuva, they'll suffer the yisurin, there'll be kaparos, they'll go to hell for whatever time, whatever it is. Yeah, but mitzvahs and averos don't affect each other with respect to the reward and punishment of them. How they affect each other, the Rambam is talking about, is in terms of the judgment of the person, or the judgment of the nation, or the world. So then we look at the scale, so to speak. Again, the Rambam is saying it's according to quality, not quantity, and it's going to see something more in a second. Yeah, then we look at the scale of the mitzvahs and the averos, and we weigh them one, to make a judgment. Is this person a rasha? Is he a tzaddik? Is he not? Is he, etc. Okay. Good. We're with me. Okay. And furthermore, now the Rambam continues, Ve'ein shoklin ela bedaito shokel deos.
Why you see which say?
The end of halacha beis now, the last few words of halacha beis right now. Perek Gimel, Maga, Hilchos Teshuva, Perek Gimel, halacha beis. Ve'ein shoklin ela bedaito shokel deos. This whole shikul that we're talking about now, that we're imagining scales and all of these things, no. It doesn't happen in any way that we can possibly understand. It happens in the mind of God. He is the one who knows how to make this, calculation of what equals what, and whether we judge a person as a rasha. So this means we can never ever judge another person. We can see another person who looks like the biggest rasha in the world. And again, the averos that they're doing, if they're actually averos and they're responsible for it, so they'll get punished for it and whatever. But as far as whether the person is a tzaddik or a rasha, that's something we never ever know. I always tell the famous story. The Rav Dessler writes this about this, that there was a person, I don't go into the whole story, but it's a Gemara in the Yerushalmi, and the Gemara talks about a person who lived there in Rome, in like in the downtown Rome, and he ran a brothel. He ran a house of ill repute. He ran a brothel, and but what happened is that there was a drought in the land, right? I guess similar to we have over here. And one of the Tanaim had a dream that this person's tefillos were answered for rain. That's what happened. Or that if he goes to this person and tells him to daven for rain, it'll rain. Right? So he goes to meet this person. Yeah, the owner of Rafa, a Jewish man. He goes to meet this person. He says, who are you? What are you all about? And he says, to be honest with you, I do 5 terrible averas every single day. And he lists off for him the 5 aspects of running and cleaning, etc., a brothel that is all getting it ready for averas, and he says, this is what my life is about, this is what I do. So the Tanur said to him, said to him, well, do you have any zchusim at all? So he said, well, yeah, one time, a Jewish woman came to me and she said, my husband was captive, is held captive, and I need to sell myself in order to pay off the money to free my husband. And I said to her, you know what, this is not for you. And I gave her the money to free her husband. It's the only thing I could think of. It happened some time ago. So he said,
he gave her the money.
He gave her the money. He said,
free the Jew.
Yeah, in other words, it was a Jewish woman who came to him to get a job, and he didn't take her for a job as a prostitute, right? And he turned her down and paid for her instead to free her husband. This is one mitzvah that he did, and then he said, so now I understand why the tefillos are answered. So Dessler writes about this, an unbelievable thing that people don't realize. He said that people themselves don't know if they're a tzaddik or a rasha.
course.
This guy thought he was a huge Rasha. He thought he was the owner of a brothel. The only thing he could see about himself were the averos that he was doing every day. And if you ask him, he would have told you, yeah, I'm like from the lowest of the low. Hashem is certainly not interested in my tefillos and all these other things. Yeah, and he had no idea who he was. He had no idea what he was all about. And this is Rav Dessler writes that a real tzanua tzaddik doesn't even know that he's a tzaddik. And this person had no idea what he was. And all those averos that he did, so we can never judge. Who knows what his upbringing was and what trauma he had and abuse, and who knows what, who knows what led him to the life that he led. But obviously Hashem knew that on his level and where he was, this was a tzaddik of the generation, right? So you have that concept. So that's what it's saying here.
That seems like an enormous contradiction, though, to everything that Hashem writes about what He expects of the Jewish people. For all time, he says, when in Koheles, the only thing that really matters is Yirat Shamayim. And the Torah is full of but you follow my commandments. Follow my commandments.
Yeah, you can never enter another person's mind. Every person in their mind, to the best of their ability, has to follow those directives and those dictates, and how that works for each person, and how that. What each person's capabilities are, and what each person's complications in their relationship with Hashem, and doing all these things, and what their challenges are, and their anger at Hashem, and all these other things. So that all that's all how a person has to. Each person for themselves has to live their life, but how it translates into each individual, and you can't judge another person.
Right,
you don't know what they're going through and what they're about, and that's correct. Every single Jew has to read those for themselves and see their life.
So much of it was judged on the nation, though.
Okay, but there's an idea. Ravali writes about this a lot of times. Gedola Averu Lishma. Sometimes people doing things that are not even the right things to do, but they're doing it with the right intention, and they don't know any better, and they're so simple, and and you see that they get tremendous chayar for it, and all these types of things. It's like. Hashem knows how to judge. That's exactly what we're reading here. It's impossible for us to know. It's impossible.
Even ourselves.
Impossible. Yeah, even ourselves. That's what I'm telling you. Even ourselves, we have no idea. Yeah. I mean, look. Yeah, that's it says ve'ein shogun ela b'daito of keldeos v'hu yodea heich orchen es chuyos keneged avonos. Okay. Yeah. Then it goes on to halacha gimel. But now, do me a favor a second. Skip what we read originally in halacha gimel and skip to where it says ukashem sheshoklin. Just skip those two lines that we read, and then. Ukashem sheshoklin zchuyos ha'adam v'onosav b'shos misaso, and just like this judgment takes place when a person dies, kach b'chol shana v'shana shoklin avonos kol echad v'echad b'baya olam b'zchuyos b'yomtev shel Rosh Hashanah. So too this judgment, this shikul, takes place on Yontev Rosh Hashanah. Mishanim tzatadik nechtam l'chayim, mishanim tzarasha nechtam l'misa. V'abeinani told in also ad Yom Kippurin, right? A person who's in the middle, he has to wait till Yom Kippur. Imasa tshuva nechtam l'chayim v'maf nechtam l'misa. Okay, there's tons to talk about every line over here. Next week, Mitzvot Hashem, we'll have more to talk. We're going to have class next week. It's after the fast. It's not. It's Thursday. Yeah. No, it's good. It's fine. Mitzvot Hashem. Okay, good. So maybe we'll talk about the rest of this halacha next week, because there's also very interesting things over here about Aseres Tshuva. That's what we'll do next week, Mitzvot Hashem. Okay, but what we see here, this whole Perek Gimel, from the beginning, literally from the first line, is talking about the shikul, the zechuyos and the avonos, and it has with people, and this has with nations and the world, and how this shikul takes place. And then he goes on and he speaks about that when this shikul takes place. But then popped right into the middle of this in halacha gimel in the beginning is this completely incongruous halacha about a person who regrets his mitzvos, he loses his mitzvos. You understand what I'm saying? In other words, if you just watch the flow of this perek, I just did it with you. I just flowed through these halachos, skipping the incongruous piece, right? Now, if we're going to do it the way that we would see it here, then halacha aleph is telling us that every person has a shikol, and halacha beis is telling us that when the shikol takes place, so then the person who is more zechuyos, he is assigned to life, and the person is left assigned to misa, and it's only Hashem who knows this shikol. And if a person regrets his mitzvos, he loses them. And this shikol takes place when a person dies. And this shikol also takes place when it's Rosh Hashanah. You know, it's like it just doesn't fit. You know what I'm saying? It
But
doesn't.
the regretting doesn't
Yeah,
fit.
this beginning of halacha gimel. I'm telling you, if, you know, people who learn the Rambam and in yeshivas, I was never like really in the yeshiva system that was like, you know, big into the Rambam. But a huge part of understanding the Rambam is understanding the placement of the halachos. Right? You're familiar with the flow of the halachos and where he put things and why he put certain halachos in this section and not in that section. Right? Everything is done for a reason.
The laws of dietary stuff is put in Deos.
Yeah, everything right. That's all. Everything is done. Everything is done with the kavanah. So to me, I don't know. This just struck me yesterday for the first time. I'm saying I've been learning this Rambam for a good number of years. Yeah, and it struck me yesterday. What's this halacha doing here? Right? It's totally. If you look through the thing, I'm not going to go through it again. You'll read through it. You'll see this halacha just like it just is like cut and pasted from elsewhere. If you would literally snip these lines out from Kol Mi Shenichem, right, until Ala Rishonos, just literally clip those words out, the Rambam would flow beautifully. Okay. So I have I want. Okay, now I'll tell you what.
So we got to ask the question: what is regretting?
Oh, so I'll tell you what led me into this is the following thing. And now, as you know, I'm a very big chassid of Moshe David Valley, this 17th century Rav in the Talmud from the Ramchal in Padua, Italy. And there's something that he said that made a huge impact on me when I saw it the first time a number of years ago. And this is something that, like, I could say I live by, or I certainly keep in mind all the time, and I teach this to people and tell people about this. And it's something that I think is very important for a person to know. And this is writing on the Tochacha in Parshas Bechukosai. Okay, so we're talking about in the Tochacha in Parshas Bechukosai. And move into the air. Yeah, in the Tochacha it talks about right in the beginning. Yeah, it says in Bechukosai Timasu. If you will be mois in my chukim, you'll like be disgusted with my chukim. V'emes mishpatai tigual nafshechem. If you're going to be, disgusted, you'll find my halachos to be, disgusting to you. Levilti asos is called mitzvos. Lehafrechem is brisi, to not do my mitzvos and to break my covenant with you. So then he says, Afani asezos lachem, that I'm going to do the same to you. If karati alechem b'chalas shachad, etc. Then the Tochacha starts. The Tochacha starts with this, like, if you do this, then this is what's going to happen. And he says, what is it if you do? Im bechukosai timasu, vim es mishpatai tigal nafshechem, levilti asos, as called mitzvos. Right? That's what he says. So look what he writes here. Right? Because it says first, if you're going to, what's timasu? Means like to be disgusted by it. That's not an action, that's a feeling. That's a thought. That's something that happens inside. That's a person's thinking about something. That's a person, thinking about a mitzvah and saying, that's silly. That doesn't make any sense. What a ridiculous law. I wouldn't have made such a law. Yeah, that's a thought. That's not an action. And then the last one is levilti asos is called mitzvos, to not do the mitzvos. So look what he writes here. Ba'al harachamim, Hashem, Eno manish me'isa v'gol nefesh believe. Hashem does not punish for thoughts in the heart. She'im kain lo haya takana l'shum bria, because if Hashem would punish us for thoughts, no creature would survive. Every human being would be doomed. Ki b'chol ish v'ish yesh ha'chelek hara ha'moes es hatov. In every single person, there's that chelek hara. There's the yetzer hara in the biggest tzaddikim. In every person, there's a chelek of bad, whose job is to get us to try to be moes in tov, to disparage good and to look bad at good. But if it goes levilti lasos, levilti asos is called mitzvosai. If it's going to lead you, those feelings are going to lead you to knock it up in the morning to go to davening because you feel, or it's going to lead you to speak lashon hara because you feel that. Then now you broke the rules. But if you're just thinking this in your heart, it's impossible to not think these things. This is what he writes. It's impossible. Every single person.
If it stays a thought,
that's what he writes.
You're good. If
that's what he
says. Leads to an action.
Right. So it struck me now, looking at this Rambam, because the Rambam writes this so explicitly. Amar belibo umahu alti. Sorry. Amar belibo, he says it in his heart. What do you mean Amar belibo? Like, Ravali writes, everybody says these things in their heart. Everybody has thoughts of negative thoughts about halachos and regrets about things that they did, and that's like it's a normal thing. Everyone goes through this, but the Rambam, doesn't even have to turn into a maisa. Even if it's just thinking in his heart, it's enough. It's terrifying, right? And where does it come from? Okay, so I came up with just thinking this through and looking at this again and again and just trying to understand, like, What's the flow over here? What's it doing over here? So I think the Rambam is saying something completely different. And when you see the context in where the Rambam is saying this, it changes this halacha completely. It softens this halacha completely. Look what the Rambam is saying. Go back now to the end of halacha base. Yeah, he's saying that that v'shikol zeh eino lefi minyan haschuyos v'avonos. It's not according to the number. It's not an accounting game, right? You can have one schus that's big, and you can have one aveir that's big. Yeah, we don't know. Ve'ein shoklen ela b'daitel. Yeah, shokel deos. Only Hashem knows how to make this shikol. V'hu hayodea heich orchen haschuyos keneged. He knows how to value one or the other. I think the continuation here is explaining to what extent Hashem is the only one who can make this shikol. Read it like this: Kimi shenichem ala mitzvos. Take, for example, a person who regrets his mitzvos. She'asa v'to'al azchuyos v'arma b'livo ma'u halti b'asiyasa havai lo asidosam harizah yivis kulan. Right now, what's interesting to note over here, what's he quoting here? He's quoting a pasuk. Like I said before, I was quoting a pasuk from Yechezkel. Now the Gemara quotes this pasuk where the source of this Rambam is talking about Rav Yochanan Kohen Gadol. Who's Rav Yochanan Kohen Gadol?
70 years and he went out.
70 years that he was a Kohen Gadol and he was a tzaddik, and then he went off the derech completely. And about him, the Gemara quotes this pasuk. Right? Acher, those types of people. He lost everything.
Yeah.
But that's not a person who regrets a mitzvah that they did. That's a person who like completely gives up on his past and wants to have nothing to do with it and wants to put it all behind him and is completely like a Baal Teshuva in the opposite respect, in a complete way. That's not just a person who's regretting the fact that I picked up this person and now, oh gosh, look what happened, and then he loses it. In other words, what I'm trying to say is I think that the Rambam, when he's saying this here, and now it fits, now you understand why he's writing it here. He's writing it, you understand how impossible it is for a person to make this cheshbon, because even the mitzvos that a person did, we don't know how they're really going to count for them, because a person can lose those mitzvos. Like you see, this Rabbi Yochanan Kohen Gadol lost them to the extent that he was able to completely regret for things that he had done before. You understand what I'm saying? In other words, it's not a halacha saying that kol mi shenichem, every single person that regrets a mitzvah that they did, they lose that halacha. The point is that if you have a person who is nichem, if you have a person who regrets their mitzvos to the extent necessary, even that is something that is entered into the cheshbon of Hashem. You understand what I'm trying to say over here? You know what I'm saying? I'll say it one more time. I'm trying to say it one more time. Taking the Rambam at face value, it seems just to be a regular halacha. Forgetting about the context of where, let's say it was somewhere where it made sense, right? Let's say it was somewhere where it made sense. You would take the Rambam at face value. Yes, just like many of the Svarim say, it just like uses the same lashon. It's very interesting. You look at, in Perek Aleph, turn back for a second.
Anyone who regrets his mitzvahs loses them.
Yeah, in Perek Aleph, halacha Gimel, when he talks about tshuva, he says almost the exact same lashon. Afilu Rasha kol yama va'asa tshuva b'achrona ein maskirin lo shum davar merisho shenemar rishas harisha lo yichashol ba b'yom shuva merisho, which is the beginning of the same pasuk, right? So it's mamish like the flip side of this. Yeah, but if it would be in the normal place, so you would understand it as yes, if I regret a mitzvah, I lose it. But what I'm trying to build into this is number one, to have that trigger, that va'amar b'libo, just a person saying in his heart that he regrets something, that's enough to give him this type of a patch. I have a hard time with. I don't, and I'm showing us from Ravali that Hashem doesn't operate that way. Yeah, that's number one. And number two,
because of the pasuk in Bechukos.
Yeah, I'm saying because that's where his perush of the pasuk. I'm saying that's his perush. I'm not saying the other version might disagree with that. But that's number one. And number two is just the context of this halacha is very strange to me. What is it doing over
Rambam
here?
set up the human being as someone who is judged qualitatively.
That's for sure.
So therefore, to throw this into the mix in that context, you're saying
right
that he even judges going off the derech qualitatively.
He even judges. In other words, like even not only does he judge like a big mitzvah versus a small averos, or a big avera versus small mitzvos. He even judges, your level of regret and your level of to the extent that you can have a person, like he's quoting from this Gemara of this pasuk, to the extent you can have a person that okay, I'll tell you what doesn't fit so nicely is the lashon of kol mi shenichem. That sounds to be a very like exact state. In other words, the way I'm
Anyone
saying,
who.
right? According to what I'm saying, it really should say ki kol mishanichem or kim mishanichem. You know what I mean? Like yeah, but the flow of it fits so well like this. You know, and that makes a lot of sense. That you know what I mean. The Rambam is talking about this shikul and telling us how impossible the shikul is to understand, because even a person who's a tzaddik his whole life, he could regret what he did, and Hashem would know, and nobody else would ever know, because it's only belibo, right? And Hashem would only be the one to know that this person is not really a tzaddik anymore. That's the way I understood it. But if you understand it that way, so then you hear what I'm saying. It makes it a little bit less of like a
drag.
Yeah, exactly. That it's you know, it's showing the extent to which the shikul can happen, not the way it has to happen every time. That's what I'm trying to say. It's the extent to which Hashem judges a person's a psyche with respect to the mitzvahs and affairs that they did, but it's not necessarily a statement of fact that this is what happens every time a person thinks this way.
It's not as black and white as it may seem.
That's what I'm suggesting.
This is one sheet. I heard like a lecture of saying the opposite.
The which?
He even gave like an example of a couple that took an orphan and raised him for like a baby, and then he reached 18, and then he told them something like, and they sent to Shiva, and he went to get married, and then he told his parents, okay, thank you so much, but
I'm out.
Thank you for everything that you did, and
I'm off to the Bahamas.
And then the mother said,
I wish I never.
He's such a fui tova, you know. I wish I never like.
Put my eyes on
it for him. And then I heard from the Rabbi Baruch Rosenblum. He had lectures on Persian. He said, "That's it. All."
No, that is the pashtus. That's for sure the pashtus. That's the way Rabbi Chanan Massman understood it. Also, for sure. I'm just trying to
all of
explain
them.
it. No, not all the mitzvahs. All the mitzvahs with this orphan.
Not
anyway, but that's for sure. I'm saying Rabbi Chanan Massman also understood it that way. They all, but I'm just saying the context of it is very difficult for me to understand. But anyway, okay, that's the point that I wanted to